Hello everyone, welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Tonight we're unpacking a story that refuses to leave the conversation, one that threads together three of the most recognizable names in contemporary Turkish pop culture: Barış Arduç, Elçin and Gupse. For years, viewers have asked why Barış's path curved so quickly from a long-rumored on-screen bond with Elçin to a private, decisive marriage with Gupse. What changed, when, and why? We'll trace the timeline carefully, separate public record from unverified whispers, and try to understand how a single decision can redirect not just two lives, but an entire fandom's expectations. If you enjoy nuanced, respectful storytelling, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep bringing you deep dives with context, not just headlines. Let's start with the moment that built the legend, Karalık Aşk. In that series, Barış Arduç and Elçin crafted a rhythm that viewers across Turkey, Europe, and Latin America instantly recognized as rare: an economy of glances, an ease with silence, banter that felt like shorthand from an old friendship. When a pairing like that lands, audiences often decide the future before the actors do. Fan pages multiplied, edits set to ballads racked up millions of views, and interviewers learned to circle back to the same question: is there anything more here? For a long time, both actors smiled the smile of professionals, grateful, careful, and unwilling to let private life blur the lines of craft. The collective fantasy held, but it didn't evolve into a public reality. Then came the pivot. Away from set chatter and premieres, another narrative took shape, quietly at first, then loudly in retrospect. Barış reconnected with Gupse, a multi-hyphenate with a storyteller's sense of structure and a partner's sense of timing. Their history went back years, their rapport was easy, and their circles overlapped in ways that felt organic rather than orchestrated. When the marriage announcement arrived, it was brisk and untheatrical: no countdown, no performative lead-up. To many, that decisiveness read like a statement: here is the life we chose, and here is how we will protect it. But the fandom's imagination doesn't surrender so quickly, and a second storyline emerged in the rumor economy: that before Barış turned the page, he had taken a breath on the old chapter, approaching Elçin with a what if, a could this be more, an invitation to test whether on-screen harmony could hold under the heavier conditions of real life. In those tellings, Elçin is said to have declined, politely, firmly, for reasons that belonged to her, priorities she'd set, boundaries she intended to keep, a sense that great work isn't a guarantee of a great marriage. None of the principals have documented that moment, none have confirmed it. Yet the rumor persists, not because it is salacious, but because it feels narratively neat. People like neat. Real life rarely is. If you strip away the speculation, you're left with a human truth that explains the timing without assigning villains. Some relationships are slow-burning stories that end in ceremony. Others are powerful collaborations that aren't meant to become domestic arrangements. And sometimes a no, offered at exactly the right time, is less a rejection than a kindness, a refusal to enter a life you cannot fully honor. Read this way: the alleged exchange, if it happened, wasn't a door slammed, it was a road sign. Barış read it, turned the wheel, and accelerated toward the place where love and logistics could coexist. What followed with Gupse supports that interpretation. Their connection unfolded like two adults building a home rather than two celebrities building a narrative. They chose privacy over pageantry, continuity over spectacle. Gupse's gift as a writer-director shows in how she inhabits the long game: development, drafts, edits, patience. A marriage anchored in that tempo is less likely to bow to the weather of public opinion. In interviews, when Barış is asked about family, he answers with the calm of someone who has already subordinated the brand to the life, who decided that the most valuable commodity in fame is the right to be uninteresting to strangers on most days. Where does that leave Elçin in a story that fans insist on placing at her feet? With the dignity of her choices. She has always been honest about the difference between character and self. The projects she selects tend to reward nuance over noise, and the public self she maintains is consistent, engaged, witty, and allergic to melodrama for its own sake. If she indeed declined to redraw the line between work and love, that decision tracks with everything else she has modeled: an artist protecting the container that makes the art possible. It is also a reminder to audiences that chemistry on screen is exactly that, chemistry assembled for a scene, sustained by design, and disassembled at wrap. Of course, fans also have feelings, and those feelings matter when they're channeled with care. Many experienced Barış and Elçin's pairing as a bright spot in a difficult decade. Naturally they grieved the idea of forever even as they wished both well. Social media's loudest corners demanded explanations, but the quieter majority did something better. They pivoted with the people they admired. They celebrated Barış and Gupse without turning Elçin into an absence, and they kept loving Elçin's work without treating Barış's marriage as a betrayal. That balance is what a healthy fandom looks like, sentimental, yes, but ultimately adult. Industry-wise, the outcomes are telling. Barış's marriage has not dimmed his draw, it has clarified it. The aura now is stability, competence, and the kind of charisma that doesn't panic when seasons change. Gupse continues to be a creative force with her own orbit, which means the couple doesn't feed off the same patch of spotlight. They take turns, they trade wind. As for Elçin, every new role sharpens the thesis that has always followed her. She is drawn to material where women make complicated, autonomous choices. Refusing a path that might have pleased the internet fits that thesis. Choosing the work that best protects her voice fits it even more. Let's also acknowledge how narratives like this can go wrong, and how, this time, they mostly didn't. It would have been easy for the rumor to rot into blame, to weaponize a woman's no against her or to resent a man's yes to someone else. Instead, the dominant tone, after the noise subsided, was gratitude, for a show that gave viewers a language for yearning, for a marriage that was built without injuring anyone on purpose, for a performer who knows when not to turn a life lesson into clickbait. There will always be accounts that try to turn kindness into conspiracy. But the people at the center did not feed them, and so the market for malice shrank. So what is the real reason behind the unexpected union if you ignore the teasing headline and listen for the quiet facts? Two people, Barış and Gupse, recognized that their lives fit together in the places that matter most: schedule, humor, ambition, rest. Perhaps a third person, Elçin, declined to step into a story that looked golden on paper but didn't match the future she had already promised herself. If that took courage, then it was the right courage. If it took pain, then it was the right pain. And if it disappointed a million daydreams, that is the tax fame charges on those who choose to be honest. Before we close, a small invitation to the community that grew around these names. Let your affection grow with them. If the dream you held was Barış and Elçin, keep it as a beautiful artifact of the hours those episodes gave you. If the joy you feel now is Barış and Gupse, let it be a joy that doesn't require a villain to taste sweet. And if your compass points toward Elçin's next character more than her next headline, you're already doing fandom in the healthiest possible way. People are allowed to pick the life that holds them. Our job is to cheer when they do. Thank you for watching. If this conversation offered you clarity without cruelty, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who loves these artists as much as you do. We'll keep covering the stories that shape the culture, and we'll keep remembering that the people in those stories are not props in ours.